I don't even know. I don't even know. Welcome in to this edition of the Red Sox Rundown presented by PrizePicks. I'm your host, Jack Lotteray. I don't even know what to say at this point. We've got some trade rumors to talk about. Alex Speier put out an article a little bit earlier yesterday. We're going to discuss this SNY Trevor Story Mets trade. We didn't talk about this last week. We're going to talk about that today because that coincides with just like the second half of this video. It's time. It's time for Trevor Story to go. So we'll discuss that, and then we'll talk about the series finale. Yeah, I don't know. This team stinks. This team stinks. They're unwatchable. They're unbearable. It just is what it is. So we got to talk about the trade deadline because the Red Sox will be active in some way, shape, or form. Will they be buying? I find that highly unlikely. I think they're probably going to be more on the selling train if it were my opinion. But you let me know, though. I want to ask you a question off the top. I want you guys to get down to the comments. I want you to let me know. Will the Red Sox buy or sell at the deadline? Just type B in the comments. Just go down and type B and publish your comment. If you think they're going to buy, or type S if you think they're going to sell. I think they're going to sell. But you let me know down below in the comments. Okay. So let's talk about some of the trade rumors. Alex Speier, as I said, put out an article yesterday, and it basically talks about, like, what do you do with this team? How do you make this team better? And the answer is, I have no idea. I don't think there is any saving this team. This team is just not a good team this year. I think we just have to accept that. But he did have one interesting nugget. Here's the quote from Alex Speier. He said, "There's also the prospect of trade. Though any significant deals at this stage of the season remain unlikely, according to league sources, the Red Sox, like other struggling teams, are spitballing both big and small trade ideas within their own walls. And there has been more industry-wide chatter than is typical at this stage of the season. Very, very interesting, to say the least, on a few fronts. Number one, I don't find it that shocking that they are spitballing trade ideas, both big and small. You've got, at this point, you're desperate. This team stinks. Least amount of runs scored in the American League, least amount of home runs. The pitching and defense has been good. It's been as advertised, but this offense is just, it's the most lethargic offense in all of baseball. And it does not surprise me that they are going to try to do something. Will that thing work? I don't know, because we don't know what that thing is. But I don't think that this is like a swap one player out for another problem. Like, the entirety of the lineup is an issue. It's an issue. So, that is what it is. But the other thing that I find interesting is the end of that quote where it says there's been more industry-wide chatter than is typical at this stage of the season. I've heard multiple rumors and reports that the trade deadline this year could be like generational. That like a lot of big names could be on the move. Now, again, we'll see how the season continues to pan out. But it sounds like it's going to be a very active deadline. And I do think that also the potential lockout coming at the end of the year could also play a part in that. So I'm very interested to see what the Red Sox are cooking up. We talked about Mike Trout the other day. I find that highly unlikely. I also don't think it makes a lot of sense for the Red Sox. But what about a Yordan? What about a Tatis? I know people were crapping on me for saying Tatis in the video a few days ago, but what about it? He does still have the superstar potential. He's still young. Can you swing one of these big names? I find it hard to believe. They do still kind of have some intriguing draft capital. They do. So we'll see what happens with this. It's interesting at least to know that the Red Sox are becoming active and that the chatter is a lot more earlier on than it has been in the past. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. But I do think we should buckle up. I think we are in for a generational type deadline this year. And that's a lot of fun because that means good content for us. Before we get on with the rest of the show, we are going to talk about Trevor Story here in a second. I do have to give a massive shout out to our sponsor. That is PrizePicks. You know them. You love them. PrizePicks is the place to go if you love daily fantasy sports. They are the #1 sports picks app. I absolutely love them. Today, we are going to look at another projection that I am a really big fan of. We talked about Andrew Painter a few days ago. If I remember correctly, I actually don't think that projection ended up winning. I think Painter was, I believe, a strikeout short, so credit to the Red Sox for actually not striking out as much as I thought they would. I do like this one quite a bit, though. Spencer Strider, starting pitcher tonight for the Red Sox against the Atlanta Braves. We've got a little goblin pick here. Goblins are easier projections, and they give a little bit of a lower payout. But I do like this one quite a bit, though. 1.5 walks allowed. If we look at his trends here, he's given up at the very least, 2 walks in his last 5 starts. And if there's one thing that this Red Sox team actually does pretty well, they take their walks. Now, they do strike out quite a bit as well, but the Sox are usually good for 1 or 2 walks a game. I actually like this projection quite a bit, and for that reason, I am going to put it in my lineup. You can also put it in lineups of your own if you download the PrizePicks app today, and we also have a new user offer if you download the PrizePicks app, and you use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup, you're going to get $50 in lineups. Fantastic deal. It's code HMA. When you play your first $5 lineup, you get an extra $50 in lineups. We got a link to download the app in the comments and description of today's show. Thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring the Red Sox Rundown. Let's talk about Story. The story is that it has not been good. And I said this at the beginning of the season. I said I'm not going to go down the irrational path here. I'm not going to say we need to DFA him a month into the season like we did last year, because we all did that last year. We did. You did, I did, we all did. We said Trevor Story needs to go. Trevor Story stinks. Well, then we got to June, and he finished the season being one of the most consistent players in this lineup. And you cannot argue that. It is true. So I didn't want to do that this year. I kept telling myself, I said, I don't care what happens. I'm going to give him a few months. I do not want to abandon him. It's worse this year, though. It's not like he's showing glimpses, although he hit a home run a few nights ago, but it's not like he's showing glimpses. He is not good. He's not. He is not good at all. Last night's game was one of the worst for him, too. And I feel bad for him. He's a human being. He's a person. You know, I hate to be that guy, but it's also my job when I'm talking about this team to call out players who are not playing well. Trevor Story's not playing well. Brian Barrett, who's a great follow on Twitter, if you don't follow him already, he had this after last night's game. Trevor Story, 0 for 4, 2 Ks, 1 error. An error that led to a run, by the way. He entered the night at a negative 0.3 F4, which is 163rd of 173 qualifiers. That's horrible. One of the worst in the league. He's got a 32% strikeout rate. That ranks 166th. He's not good. And it's like generationally bad. Last year, again, there were some glimpses. It wasn't horrible. It was bad, but it wasn't atrocious. This year, it's atrocious. It's bad. And I do think that, like, until you make any sort of move, until you make a big decision, this offense is going to continue to stink. And I think that the first thing they got to do is figure out what to do with Trevor Story. That brings us to SNY and Chelsea Janes, who brought up an interesting rumor. Let me just read it for you, and then I'll give my thoughts. Here's what SNY had to say. If the Mets hope to save their season, the Mets also struggling very mightily, and they attempt to do so at any cost, they'll have to get creative. Could one option be targeting a veteran around the sport who looks uncomfortable with their current team? What about Trevor Story with the Red Sox? SNY's Chelsea Janes explores the hypothetical situation. Here's what they had to say. Trevor Story struggling, even as he is vocally frustrated, with Red Sox management. Could the Mets pair a deal for him and his contract while grabbing an outfielder from Boston's long-standing logjam? If that sounds like throwing good money after bad, it might be. But if the whole season is going to be bad money anyway, might as well see if a fresh start for a player with a strong track record can help revive him and the Mets at once. It's an interesting thought. I know Coley Mick quote tweeted that tweet and said, "You'd really have to twist my arm." I quote tweeted it and said, "You'd have to beg." You fix two issues in that scenario. Not only do you get off of Trevor Story and his very underwater contract at this point, you also clear up the logjam if you send an outfielder, maybe a Jarren Duran. What would you get back in return? I don't know, because, again, you're asking them to take on Story's contract, which is not the most pleasant contract in the world. Would I do it? Of course I would do it. Of course. But, yeah, it's interesting. I don't think anyone in their right mind would do it, though. I think the Red Sox are more likely to DFA Trevor Story than they are to trade him. Because at this point, is it really worth trading an asset like Duran just to get Story off your team? Now, some people in my comments may say, yes, it's very worth it because Duran sucks too. That may be true, but Duran's a lot more valuable than you guys think. There's going to be a lot of teams calling about Jarren Duran at the deadline. And the Red Sox can leverage that for a better deal. I don't think attaching Duran to a Story trade just to get Story off your books is the best idea. Should the Red Sox trade Trevor Story? Type T for trade if you think they should. Type K for keep if you think they should keep him. I think I know what everyone's going to be typing. I'm typing my T for trade. It would not be a very hard negotiation to get Trevor Story off the team. But T for trade, K for keep, you let me know down below. All right, we finish off talking about the game. So we didn't talk about the middle game. They won. Sonny Gray looked really good. You had 2 home runs. That was the difference in the game. But then last night, it's last night. The Red Sox, again, look horrible. I believe they scored 5 runs in this entire series. They lose the series. They've won 1 series at Fenway so far this year. They've had 7 series at Fenway. They've won 1 of them. That's not good. It's not good at all. Rangers Warriors looked fantastic in this game. 5 1/3, 4 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 8 Ks. I know everyone's asking, why did they pull him with only 76 pitches when he easily could have given you the rest of the 60? Probably could have given you the 7th. Chad Tracy spoke after the game, and he said that they had pitch count restrictions because he was coming back from injury, which I understand. I'm not gonna blame them for that. It's his first start back from injury. I'm glad to see. It looks like it's like he didn't miss a step. But yeah, nonetheless, he looked really good. I understand the frustration of pulling him early, but again, he just got back from injury. So you want to kind of wean him in. And your bullpen's been pretty good. So I feel like Tracy thought that, we could trust the bullpen. Well, yeah, Slayton was good. Whitlock was good. They made the very questionable decision to pitch Whitlock against the bottom of the order. And then they brought in Tyler Samaniego in the 8th. Giving him a high leverage spot. I like that they did that because he's been one of, if not the best reliever in your bullpen, minus Aroldis Chapman. So they gave him a high leverage spot. Maybe not the best high leverage spot to give him, especially in a close game. I think Whitlock probably would have fared a little bit better in that inning. And he gives up a 2-run home run to Kyle Schwarber, who we could have used on this team. But we didn't even offer him a contract. So that's cool. But yeah, Tyler Samaniego gives up his first runs of the year. Feel really bad for him. Not really his fault. I mean, he hung a curveball to Schwarber. That's his fault. But high leverage situation against top of the order. I mean, what are you going to do at that point? Zach Kelly finishes it out. He gives up an unearned run. That was due to the Trevor Story error, which was great to see. And then Ryan Watson ends the game in the 9th. But at the end of the day, the pitching's not really the issue. Because you only scored 1 run. 99% of the time, you're not going to win scoring 1 run. You're not. This team is really unbearable to watch right now. 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position. 9 runners left on base. I feel like we have the same. It's deja vu every time we talk about a game. It's the same crap. Pitcher pitches well. gives up 1 or 2, 3 runs. The offense goes 0 for or like 1 for with runners in scoring position. They leave like double-digit runs on base. They strike out double-digit times. It's just not good. It's lethargic, bad baseball. It just is. It's not good at all. Shout out to Willier. Had the 1 RBI in the game. Shout out to Andrew Monasterio. He had 2 hits. Other than that, you kind of stunk. You didn't just kind of, you did. You stunk. This offense is horrible. And it's the definition of insanity. You trot out the same players every day and expect a different outcome. That outcome isn't gonna show up. It's just not. This team stinks offensively. Thankfully, the pitching and defense make it at least a little bit interesting and fun to watch at times. But like when this offense is that bad, you can't do anything. And again, they've had 7 series at Fenway Park so far this year. They've won 1 of them. 1 of them. It's inexcusable. It's inexcusable. And now we play the Braves, the hottest and best team in all of baseball. Perfect timing. Predict the Red Sox record against the Braves. Yeah, they're going to get swept. They're in Atlanta. What do you want me to say? Let's look at the probables real quick. It's going to be Spencer Strider versus Connolly Early. That'll probably be a pretty good game. But yeah, I don't expect the Sox to take that. On Saturday, it is Peyton Tolley versus that Bryce Elder. It is Bryce Elder. Peyton Tolley versus Bryce Elder on Saturday. And then on Sunday, it is TBD versus Grant Holmes. Maybe you take the finale. I don't know who's pitching in the finale. Probably Jake Bennett. But maybe you take the finale, but I think they get swept. This team, they can't score runs. And the last time I said they got swept, they ended up sweeping. So maybe that's a good thing. Or almost, I forget. But maybe that's a good thing. Maybe they did sweep, actually. Yes, they did. They swept. I said they were going to get swept, and they ended up sweeping. So maybe the reverse jinx works. So I think they get swept. You let me know. Predict the Red Sox record down below in the comments. That's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We're gonna carry on. This is not a good team. We're gonna talk about some more trade stuff, how they can fix the team. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because I've actually been putting out more short form content every day. Anytime there's little nuggets of news, including injury news, I've been putting out a lot more short form content, at least 2 shorts a day surrounding the latest Red Sox news and rumors. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. I appreciate you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And until next time, go Sox.